Metacognition is an educational idea describing cognition about cognition, or rather, thinking about thinking. Metacognition is higher order knowledge about your own thinking, as well as your ability to use this knowledge to manage your own thinking processes. This idea of metacognition can be traced back to William James, an American philosopher and psychologist from the early 20th century. James wrote about his own exploration of his self, writing about self-awareness and self-knowledge, resulting in the nascent field of psychology. He coined the famous phrase, streams of consciousness, which identifies the self with cognition. For James, quote, "A mind which has become conscious of its own cognitive function plays what we have called the psychologist upon itself. It not only knows the things that appear before it, it knows that it knows them. This stage of reflective condition is more or less explicitly our habitual adult state of mind." From James, we can see that there are many metacognitive processes and skills. For example, a metacognitive process would comprise discerning where and how to focus your attention. Perhaps you can devise a study plan with strategies such as using memorization techniques. Generally, you are thinking about what best thinking process can help you reach any given goal. After James, the term metacognition was formalized by psychologist John Flavell, who describes metacognition as, quote, "one's knowledge concerning one's cognitive processes and products or anything related to them." Metacognition refers, among other things, to the active monitoring, regulation, and orchestration of these processes. Metacognition involves three kinds of knowledge. First, declarative knowledge. This is about knowing yourself as a learner. You should ask, what are the factors that influence your learning and memory? What are the strategies, skills, and resources that you need? Declarative knowledge is about knowing what to do. Second, procedural knowledge, or knowing how to proceduralize or incorporating routines through the use of the strategies. Third, self-regulatory knowledge. This is to ensure you will complete any given task. Metacognition is strategically applying this declarative, procedural, and self-regulatory knowledge to accomplish goals and solve problems. For example, imagine teaching young kids how to spell. For many teachers, this means telling the students to write down the words and learn them for a test next week. This is all well and good for some children, but for others it represents an overwhelming problem. How do they learn how to spell? We all have very different approaches to tasks of this type, and some children will find a way which helps them learn how to spell, but many others will not. A metacognitive practice may be to collectively ask what strategies the children have been taught in learning how to spell. This is helping the children think about their own thinking. One child may say something like this, "I just see it in my head, and then I know it." Another may say that they can only learn the spelling by repeatedly saying them aloud. Another might talk about writing and rewriting the list of words. But yet another might well say that they have no approach and are at a loss when it comes to attempting to learn how to spell. Metacognition allows the children to be encouraged to experiment with different approaches. Once a new spelling method is introduced, this method may or may not suit a particular child. It's hoped that exposure to this method and discussion of its purpose and value and the consideration of possible alternatives will allow children to decide in a metacognitive mode how to approach the task of learning how to spell. I hope you enjoy this short summary of metacognition and how it relates to thinking and learning.